Forgiveness is something absolutely necessary in our lives, and yet it's one of the most difficult things to embrace. Sometimes it's difficult to accept the fact that we are forgiven by God if we've committed a grievous sin, even when we've gone to confession. Forgiving ourselves can be very difficult. And it's certainly difficult at times to give forgiveness to others when they've done something deep and wounding to us. And yet forgiveness is at the heart of Christianity. The whole point of Jesus coming to earth and saving us from sin and death is to reconcile us to the Father and to one another in this new covenant of the church. Today's gospel is the parable of the unforgiving servant. The servant who owes a huge amount of money to the king mercifully forgives the entire debt. That same servant goes out and there's a fellow servant who owes him a very small amount, and he throttles him and threatens to throw him in prison if he doesn't pay it back. And the point is well taken, that we can't presume on God's forgiveness if we're not willing to forgive others. That if we receive God's forgiveness, we're called to pass that gift on to others. As the Our Father says, to forgive trespasses as we forgive. We pray then for that grace of forgiveness in these days of Lent. Is there a grudge? Is there a long-held resentment that you have in your life against someone else? Is there someone in our life that has asked us forgiveness and we've withheld it just because we couldn't give it sincerely? Is this not the time for us to be reconciled to God and to each other? So the power of confession is that we're asked to do a penance, to go out and do something that's at least symbolically, but also spiritually going to undo some of the damage of our sin. One of the most powerful ways that we can undo the negative impact of sin, both the sin of ourselves and others, is to forgive. To pass on that mercy of Christ that has been won for us on the cross and freely offered to us through Jesus' precious blood shed for us. We can never forget that when the soldier pierced the side of Christ, what came out? Not vengeance, not anger, not divine wrath. What came out was this torrent of mercy, this blood and water that symbolizes both baptism and Eucharist for us. May we forgive even as we ask for forgiveness.